So first of all, congratulations on the film. I enjoyed it, and I could see why Adam was behind this. He can definitely tell, so congratulations on the... Adam, this is not your average run-of-the-mill story, so where did the inspiration for this come from?
It came from a food inspection I had at a bar I opened on Queen Street some years ago, and we had a food inspector, and I was just aware of how much control they wielded, and I thought, okay, wouldn't it be interesting to set a story where this character was going from restaurant to restaurant and was dealing with something else, that the inspection became sort of a form of therapy. And then this story of this daughter came in, and some personal issues in my own life, and I was thinking about the whole question of parenting, and then really this father-daughter relationship, and how do you tell a story where you're in their memories and how they're trying to figure out things that have happened to them and things they might have been able to tell and express to each other but didn't. And it just began to evolve from that, really how to deal with the past, the things that a parent could never tell a child, the parent thinks is protecting from a child, but the child actually seeing everything, and that feeling of being protected is actually betrayed. And it becomes something in the child's eyes more insidious and more almost brutal, and that deforms the relationship.
David, you have a 13-year-old as well, so watching 10-year-old Veronica on the first day of shooting, you said it made it utterly relatable. How so?
Because it was in recent memory of my daughter. She's 14 now, and it's not so long ago she was, exactly that. And there's something I think I'm only just learning. So bittersweet about having a child grow up is that one, you can never know it until you have a child of your own, how as the child grows up you kind of lose one version of that child. You lose the little girl, the little curly hair, little fun and scrumptious little thing, who I used to do her hair every day and learn to do her braids and be totally reliant on me, and it's like my little girl. And now as they grow up, obviously you still have the same love for them, but that little one has disappeared. Is now, in my case, she's this little because she's got my height. Fortunately, she's not got my nose. But and so I find that extraordinary. And obviously, it was something that came to play in this because it deals with the young girl and the older woman, and project into thinking when my daughter is that age in her 20s, and how I will feel about the decisions she's made, and if I'll feel responsible for them, and how much guilt I might maintain for however her life turns out. And I'm constantly watching for that, and at the moment it turns out to be pride, because she's doing very well. She's wonderfully just a girl, and is a very funny girl, and I'd like to take credit for that.
You mentioned that Adam is one of the greatest directors you've worked with. How so?
Because he cares about the acting, and a lot of directors not only care about the visuals, but I'd say it's about 80-20 in terms of how much they care about what they're getting in their camera and what they're actually getting from a performance, and not just performance, but an actual, generation of what they've written. Of course, Atom wrote it as well. He's because he's very good at communicating what he wants and changing the performance from take to take to take, and it's just rare.
I hear that instead of most directors look at the monitors, he's usually looking at the actors' faces while filming. Is that true? Is that intimidating in any way?
It is true. It's not. It's the opposite of intimidating. It's reassuring, and it makes you feel like you're being looked after and being taken seriously, and you're not being judged on something that's this size.
But it is interesting with younger actors, because a lot of them are not used to directors being so close to them, and they do find it intimidating. I've had younger actors saying, "Are you going to actually be there?" And they've never had a director be that close to them, actually beside the lens, and it's. Yeah, I think it can be intimidating, but it's really where you need to be, because first of all, it's a privilege to be that close to a performance, but also you're able to see detail in a way that you can't. And I think just coming from theater, it's the front row seat, right? Yeah.
The film shows rabbit's ears as a delicacy. So what's the weirdest thing that you guys have tried?
A lamb's testicle.
A fresh sheep brain, which is a kind of a Middle Eastern breakfast. But that was, I actually could not eat it, but my wife just kind of gobbled it all up, and that's what she, it's interesting the things that people are used to eating. And I also had a fish eye in Japan. You mentioned a fish eye.
Yeah, that was weird. It's hard.
Yeah, a fish eye is odd. But the rabbit ear, I actually, when I was shooting in Atlanta, it is a southern kind of dish. It's like a kind of a delicacy. So it's not made up.
And lastly, if you could have anyone as a guest of honor at your dinner table, who would it be?
Atom Egoyan.
Oh.
Just saying that, so
Yeah,
he'll have a go at me in the car later. For not saying that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm going to say something.
Gandhi, you know.
It would be David Thewlis playing George Orwell. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to think about that one. I'll go back to James mine. Yeah, Shakespeare.
Oh, okay. So suddenly he kind of like, you want him instead of me.
Well, she
That's
said,
kind
do you
of
want to change it? And since I've got the opportunity to change it.
Jesus, well, you just said me, and now it's
Atom
Shakespeare.
Egoyan dressed up as Shakespeare then, 'cause I'd like to see him in tights. You know.
Thank you so much
thank
for
you.
the chat. I'm wishing you all the best in this film. Thank you.